I'm Rick Jenkins, the publisher at SC Biz News. We're the media company serving about 100,000 high-level business executives throughout South Carolina. Welcome to SC Biz TV and another episode in our ongoing video series, Economic Spotlight. Today we're turning the spotlight on OneSpartanburg, a collaborative organization that was formed by merging the Spartanburg, South Carolina Area Chamber of Commerce, the Spartanburg Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the Spartanburg Economic Futures Group. OneSpartanburg serves as the leading business voice and the marketing arm for both the city and county of Spartanburg, as well as leading all countywide economic development efforts. Today I'm joined by Alan Smith, the president and CEO at OneSpartanburg, and we're going to discuss that organization's recently released Vision Plan 2.0. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you for having me.
It is good to see you, bud. I haven't seen you in a while. I know you have been busy. You got this plan that has come out. It is on the heels somewhat of the Vision 1.0 plan, which we'll discuss that here in a second too. This is a 5-year economic development strategy designed to build upon some impressive momentum that you all started with 1.0. Tell me how long ago 1.0 was.
So we launched 1.0 in 2017.
Okay.
We started the process to develop it back in 2016, engaged 3,100 people through a survey, had a big steering committee, a lot of data gleaned to really set a data basis for our work the next 5 years.
That's right. And we'll get to 2.0 in a second, but I tell you before we do, Spartanburg's a nice place to live, yeah? Whether you call it Spartanburg or Hub City or Sparkle City or whatever you enjoy calling Spartanburg, I tell you, since I have been in the upstate area, and I've been here 17 years, folks, it just has gotten better. It is a cool downtown. It has a lot of character, and I'm sure you enjoy making that better year after year.
Absolutely, and you would expect me to say it's a good place to live,
Right.
But I think the proof is in the pudding. In fact, that 43,000 people have moved to Spartanburg County over the past 10 years. We're seeing 18 people a day move to Spartanburg County. Our number one in-migration county right now is Greenville County. So 7,012 people left Greenville and moved to Spartanburg over the past 5 years. So people are voting with their feet, and we're seeing historic population growth.
Yep. Yes, you are. Let's talk about 2.0, Vision Plan 2.0. If I remember right, I read through it. There are 15 recommendations in that plan, and they're divided up into 3 categories: talent, economy, and place. Let's start with talent. You've hired somebody new, right?
We have. We hired a chief talent officer.
Right.
Talent is the number one issue in the business community, and we needed to set our priorities and our budget accordingly. And so we hired the National Talent Director for the Boys and Girls Club of America. He's a thought leader, well-respected person in the world of talent development, retention, and attraction. He's moved from Atlanta, and he now calls Spartanburg home, and we look forward to his leadership in this space.
Let's talk about talent a little bit. The bachelor's degree growth rate is above state and national trends. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we have grown a lot as it relates to bachelor degree attainment. A lot of it has to do with our population growth. But I think we'll also talk about the fact that we still have a long ways to go.
Alan, manufacturing is pretty important in South Carolina. We all know that. There's more than 6,000 manufacturers in South Carolina, and there is a whole lot in Spartanburg. How is manufacturing supporting the business community there in Spartanburg? And what does 2.0 tell you about it?
Well, manufacturing, distribution, logistics is indeed our bread and butter. I mean, now we have been intentional about diversifying our economic development approach, and we can talk about some of the wins that we've had in that space. But manufacturing is one of the reasons why our employment growth over the past 5 years has outpaced Chattanooga, Huntsville, Winston-Salem, the state, and the nation. And a big part of that has to do with manufacturing.
Are those towns that you normally compare yourself to?
We do.
You're Spartanburg?
We do.
You've also got a partnership with a group called Spartanburg Academic Movement. Tell me about that.
This organization is really bringing innovative leadership as it relates to education improvement in Spartanburg County. It's part of the Strive Together network. There's only 2 Strive Together entities in South Carolina. There's one in Charleston and there's one in Spartanburg. And so for a long time, we've had some big, bold educational goals. Like, for example, we want 40% 4-year degree attainment by 2030. We've had other educational bold goals as well, but we've never had a coordinating entity. And we do now in the Spartanburg Academic Movement. And I want to encourage folks to pay attention to Spartanburg Academic Movement, and education in Spartanburg, because we believe in the next year there are going to be some transformative things that are going to happen in that space.
The second category in your Vision 2.0 plan is economy. You wanted to, I think one of the biggest things that come across when I read it in the economy recommendation is diversifying. Tell me about diversification in the Spartanburg business community. What are you trying to accomplish?
So I think all of us will remember, I mean, anybody that's watching this will remember 40 or 50 years ago, we kind of, as a region, had our eggs in one basket.
That's right.
And that was the textile basket. And
That's
that
right.
basket got flipped over and all the eggs dumped out.
That's right.
And we want to be more sustainable. And so one of the ways in which we want to do that is we have been very intentional about diversifying our approach. 3 years ago, we kind of had a plan within the plan of 1.0, and that was a corporate development strategy. We understood what our deficiencies were in that space. We've gone about the business of trying to address them. And we really had two big wins in that space last year. We recruited 2 corporate headquarters to downtown Spartanburg, both resulting in about 326 white-collar jobs.
Remind us who those are.
Agape Care Group and MP Cloud Technologies.
Got it. Knowledge-based industry sectors growing slower than usual in Spartanburg. Yes?
They are. They've grown a lot, but they're still not up to a point in which we want them to be, which, again, is why we're going to continue through 2026 to continue to focus on the diversification of our economic development approach. And let me say something else. Catherine O'Neill is our Chief Economic Development Officer. You know, a lot of practitioners in economic development, it's big well, it's big elephant, it's county, it's rural, it's manufacturing, distribution, logistics. Those are still important to us. But she has brought a whole new flavor to economic development. Now we're the official provider for economic development for the city of Spartanburg as well. So now we're involved in multifamily projects, commercial, restaurant, retail. We're involved in urban economic development as well. And one thing I'm very proud of is the fact that, you know, a lot of people watching may know the name Nancy Whitworth. And if you don't know the name, you know the work, because Nancy Whitworth was basically in charge of economic development for the city of Greenville for 4 decades. Well, Nancy Whitworth now works for OneSpartanburg, Inc., and she has really been good for us in terms of, you know, helping us see some things maybe that others didn't see in the past. And so we've been able to really take a proactive stance in some of our urban economic development.
Getting her on board certainly gives you a little bit of bench strength, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Let's talk also about minority businesses, minority-owned businesses. That's not tracking quite as well as you'd like, right?
So Black-owned business as an overall composition as to where it should be when you look at state, well, actually national averages, is 30% less than the national average. And that's not good enough. And so we are going to have another plan within the plan within the 2.0 plan, a small and minority business development strategy. It's a 9-point strategy. It contains an accelerator program, but it's much bigger than an accelerator program. There are 8 other points in addition to that. I'm very, very excited about the fact that some folks are looking at using ARPA money to heavily invest in this work over the next 5 years. We have already hired a director of small and minority business development. Jay Jenkins comes to us from Charleston, where he was a leader in the Climb Fund, which was their community development financial institution. And so, again, we're assembling a team just to work on that issue. When we get fully staffed, we'll have 4 people working on the small and minority business development initiative. But let me be real honest about something and up front. This isn't about having banquets and having people come and talk about the issue. This is going to be driven on KPIs. You know, we want to see payroll growth amongst small and minority businesses. We want to see overall employment growth amongst small and minority businesses. We want to see small and minority business become a bigger part of our pie in Spartanburg. And one other thing that I think gives us a real competitive advantage, you mentioned our model. So we're the only entity in North and South Carolina that has combined the Chamber, the Economic Development Organization, and the Tourism Organization. So if you think about it, a lot of these big businesses that we're recruiting, when the announcement is made, we have the relationship there for 3 years. So we have a real opportunity to connect big business with small business. And I can tell you, a small business getting a contract from a company like Oshkosh Defense is life-changing. And so we're really in a seat to where we can make that connection and really, really cause the needle to move in the small and minority business space.
Alan, that's really good stuff. Let's move to the third category of recommendations that come out of the Vision Plan 2.0, and that's place. First of all, of course, I can guess, but tell me what place really means in terms of the plan.
Well, today economic development has a lot to do with quality of place. I mean, back in the day, it was we're going to show you some cheap, flat land. We're going to cut your taxes. We're going to cut your utilities. We'll get cheap labor, and we'll tell you how close you are to the interstate, and the deal is done. Those things are still important, but we had a multifamily developer out of Indianapolis with us 3 months ago. He walked in the door and he said, "I want to know about restaurant density. I want to know about your trail system." What's interesting is those are two amenities that tourists are looking for as well. Guess what? We've got tourism in our shop. And so the game has changed. And I hope we're going to talk about some of the quality of place investments that are on their way in Spartanburg County. But the communities that are investing in those kinds of amenities are winning. Number one, they're winning in an economic development space, but they're also winning because they're winning in the talent space. Because world-class talent expects like baseline amenities, like trails and athletic facilities and so on and so forth. And so if we're investing in those, we're also investing in the art of attracting people to our community.
You surveyed residents of Spartanburg as part of the Vision 2.0 plan, and you asked them quite a few things, but one of the things you asked them was about the quality of life in Spartanburg. And it came back that they ranked it on average a 5.6 out of 10. Was that lower, higher than expected? What'd you think?
That's a little lower than I expected, but then when I looked at who took the survey, the 2,800 people that took the survey, a lot of them have lived in Spartanburg, and they lived in Spartanburg a long time.
Yeah.
And, we do have a little bit of the this is too much growth, too fast kind of thing happening. And so I think we have an opportunity to be a little smart and calculated in our growth, which is why I'm really proud of County Council and the area performance planning model that they've adopted that's going to bring some quality controls to our growth over the next few years.
The thing I like most, I think, about when I go into Spartanburg County is I like driving downtown. Lots of character there, as I mentioned before. It is a great place to hang out and walk around. It has a completely different feel than other cities in the upstate, I think. Tell us about downtown and what are your hopes for it in the next few years?
So in April 2020, we closed Main Street Morgan Square to vehicular traffic to allow our restaurants to survive, quite frankly, to give them the additional capacity. I am so proud of City Council and the fact that they have decided now to extend that all the way into 2024. While they're doing that, a Morgan Square Redevelopment Committee has been set up. They've had their first meeting, and they're going to look at how we can really leverage Morgan Square as an economic driver for us. But I can tell you, when we have developers come literally from all over the world, they see Morgan Square and how it's closed to vehicular traffic right now. They say, this is like Europe. Please tell us that you're going to keep it this way for a long time. And the data backs it out. Pedestrian traffic is through the roof since we've done that. F&B is up. Hospitality tax is up. So it has made a big difference. One other thing that is changing about downtown Spartanburg is in 2016, there were 481 multifamily units in downtown Spartanburg. So we set a goal to get to 1,000. Well, right now, within 5 miles of the Daniel Morgan statue, there's 2,400 multifamily units either under construction or in the pipeline. So in the next 2 to 3 years, there's going to be 3,000 to 4,000 multifamily units within 5 miles of the Daniel Morgan statue. That's like adding a whole nother city right in downtown Spartanburg. And that wheel of commerce is going to spin 24/7 because so many people are living there.
Let's talk about one more thing when it comes to place, and that is the Saluda Grade Rail Trail. That is hard for me to say, man. Tell me about it.
That is a mouthful, but what an opportunity for the northern part of our county. We talked about investing in quality of place. So, we launched this strategy back in March, and one of the biggest wins we've gotten thus far was the fact that our General Assembly said, you know what, we need to invest in an amenity like this. And so we lobbied for that, and we secured $5 million for the Saluda Grade Rail Trail. And so what is the Saluda Grade Rail Trail? Well, right now, there's a Saluda rail line that runs from around the Tryon, North Carolina area to Inman, South Carolina.
How far is
it? It's 26.7 miles.
All right.
And so we're hoping to acquire that piece of property. If we were to acquire that property through POW, which is our great trail manager in Spartanburg County, the rail would come out and then it would become trail. The $5 million that came from the General Assembly is really a down payment in the right direction. It expresses our interest and how serious we are to the railroad company. North Carolina is looking at connecting this to the Augusta Trail, which would take it all the way up to Brevard And then what we would love to do is then close an 8-mile gap to take it all the way to downtown Spartanburg. Again, it's the steepest grade in the country. So you could literally start in Brevard, go 65, 70 miles and coast all the way down to downtown Spartanburg. This would be a game changer in terms of residential development, commercial development, so on and so forth. I can tell you that we were a finalist for an economic development project. We won the economic development project. It'll probably be announced the first of the year because of the Saluda Gray Rail Trail. We see this being a real catalytic driver for us.
It sounds really impressive. You said the first piece of that trail was 26.7 miles. I will point out that the distance of a real marathon, I think, is 26.1 miles. So I see a future marathon coming to Spartanburg County.
And if I were to run it, I would run it from Tryon down to Spartanburg, not Spartanburg up to Tryon. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. All right. If you could sit there and talk to the business community in Spartanburg, what do you need from them, Alan? I mean, what is it that they can do for you now?
You know, for a long time, I've been there 8 years. And when I first got there, I heard so many people saying, we're on the cusp. We're on the cusp. We're not on the cusp anymore. We're beyond the cusp. The chatter about the Spartanburg market in the national market is real. And so entities like GSA Biz, they help us spread the momentum. They help us get our word in front of the right people that would look to do a deal in Spartanburg, look to invest in Spartanburg. So if anybody is seeing this and you haven't been to Spartanburg in a while, I will personally show you there are opportunities to invest in Spartanburg. There are opportunities to grow in Spartanburg, opportunities to evolve. So I would encourage the business community, learn a little more about One Spartanburg Inc. We'd be happy to have you come and invest in our work. But, you know, we're not so much focused on just the organization. We want you to come and invest in Spartanburg.
Alan, good stuff, man.
Thank you. Thanks
really
for the opportunity.
Good. I appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
Folks, that is Alan Smith. He is the CEO of One Spartanburg and a really impressive dude, too. He's got a great staff over there, and they're doing impressive things. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Economic Spotlight. We will see you next time.